Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post. TikTok banned, loses appeal, must be sold by January 19th. TikTok has lost in court again. They lost their appeals court appeal to try to not get banned or be forced to be sold. The appeals court didn't go for it. And the reason they didn't go for it was the appeals court feels that the United States government, this wasn't just from the president. It wasn't an executive order, and that's what Trump tried to do. This was a law that did get passed through Congress and then got signed off on, preventing TikTok from being owned by a Chinese company. And you can understand there's a lot of influence with TikTok. It's a massive social media platform. It's a way that people get news. It's a way that people interact. People only see certain stories based on TikTok. The appeals court felt that it's a national security concern and that the legislators have a legal right to be able to say, look, for national security reasons, we don't want massive media outlets owned, controlled, manipulated by foreign countries. That's the argument, and so far it's working. Past the appeals court, it could go up to the Supreme Court. And of course, the TikTok people will try to go to the Supreme Court and at least stall this off for a while until they can litigate it out and continue to fight more. But it's not clear if the Supreme Court will take this. And a lot of times the Supreme Court is going to say, look, for national security reasons, we're not getting involved in this. It's not like individual Americans are not able to get their free speech out if it's about the control of a social media platform. Government is not supposed to be limiting free speech. They're not supposed to limit the free speech of individual people that are American citizens. But the Supreme Court has even recently allowed federal government actors through the executive branch to limit what is and isn't discussed on social media. So to the extent that China is going to be limited from controlling speech in the United States, literally China the country, yeah, I think this law is going to stand. And that's a problem for a lot of people that are used to using TikTok and for the businesses that rely on all the traffic from TikTok, because millions of businesses do use TikTok and do business through TikTok, and things look like they're going to change. From the Wall Street Journal, appeals court upholds U.S. ban of TikTok. Panel rules Congress has the power to shut down Chinese-backed app in the U.S. because of national security concerns. The federal government can get away with a lot because of national security concerns, things that we'll never even know about. From CNN Business, what's next for TikTok now that the app might get banned? And from Yahoo Finance, TikTok's loss is Meta's win. Of course, they mean Facebook, but Mark Zuckerberg had to go change the name to Meta. A federal appeals court ruled Friday that TikTok can be banned in the United States over national security concerns, upholding a federal law requiring the popular social media app to shed its Chinese ownership to keep operating. And the Chinese don't want to give up ownership of TikTok. They don't want to give up control of it. It's worth a tremendous amount of money now. I'm sure it's also meeting some of their social and security goals with respect to their relationship with the United States. And that's invaluable. Like, how could you replace that for money? You really couldn't. But the social control really kind of is dangerous. It's not like China is a big ally of the United States. This does kind of have to get resolved. A 3-judge panel in Washington, D.C. said Congress has the power to take action against TikTok to protect U.S. interests. You know, remember, Congress is represented by the people, so it is as close as you can get to the people of the United States acting through Congress to say, hey, the people don't want this anymore. We don't want China having this kind of influence over our social media, over our social conversations, over news. We have to put some kind of a stop to this. This has to change. The decision relied heavily on warnings from U.S. officials that the Chinese government can exert its will on the app's parent company, Beijing-based ByteDance, potentially giving it the ability to access users' data and manipulate what they see on the platform. And what people see on the platform, on any platform, is all dependent on the algorithm giving us whatever it is that the algorithm thinks that we want to or ought to see. Whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Meta, Instagram, it's based on what the algorithm says that you ought to be seeing. And it's not like the algorithms are being directly regulated or controlled or overseen, so the public has no control over it. Quote, the First Amendment exists to protect free speech in the United States. Here, the government acted solely to protect that freedom from a foreign adversary nation and to limit that adversary's ability to gather data on people in the United States, according to Judge Douglas Ginsburg, who wrote this for the court. The seller ban law signed by President Biden in April passed with bipartisan support after lawmakers received classified briefings from the intelligence community about the threat the app could pose to national security, including China's ability to use TikTok to surveil Americans and spread Chinese propaganda. It also prevents our intelligence agencies or anyone in the federal government from influencing that major platform, a platform that millions upon millions of people in the United States use and rely on. The intelligence community, no matter what they want to do or what messages they want the American public to be aware of or how they want to influence the American public one way or another, don't have access to TikTok. They used to have a lot more access to Twitter, now X, than they used to. Apparently, they don't have quite as much. If they have any influence over X at all, they certainly seem to have a good relationship with Facebook and all, but they don't have the same relationship with TikTok, and they're never going to. Which is one of the reasons why the intelligence community has been saying, you got to change this. This isn't working for us. That may not be good, it may not be bad, but it is just a factor. It's a major factor, and as you can see, it's influenced this process like tremendously. TikTok, which is helmed by CEO Shao Zichu, claimed that American security fears are speculative and overblown. The ban's terms are set to take effect in mid-January, though how it will be implemented is unclear. TikTok is expected to appeal to the Supreme Court, but the justices are under no obligation to even hear the case. Quote, the Supreme Court has an established historical record of protecting Americans' rights to free speech, and we expect that they will do just that on this important constitutional issue, according to a TikTok spokesperson. Quote, unfortunately, the TikTok ban was conceived and pushed through based on inaccurate, flawed, and hypothetical information, resulting in outright censorship of the American people. Okay, I hear what they're saying here, but there's a part of it that it doesn't seem like the Chinese government is being completely straight about. Yeah, technically it is kind of a censorship of the American people, but if the Chinese government or Chinese agents are in control of the TikTok platform, then they're doing their own kind of manipulating, shaping, censorship of messages that the American people are supposed to see. If you're wondering, and you probably already know this, no, the Chinese government would never allow even a Chinese company to have this kind of control over messages and social media in China, much less some American company or other foreign company to control a major or even minor media platform inside of China. They just don't permit that. Yes, the people in China don't have the same constitutional rights, but the point is, come on now. I mean, at least be straight about this. The issue really is the algorithm is not under the control of anyone in the United States. It's not up for review from anyone from the United States. TikTok has said, if you try to force us to sell this company or ban this company so that it has to be sold, we will not let you have the algorithm for the United States. We will hold back the algorithm. It will not be part of the sale. I mean, why? Just make it part of the deal if this is just about money. If it's not about controlling the public, then just make the algorithm available for sale and charge a lot of money for it. But if it's not about money, if it's about social influence, which it seems a lot more like what is going on here, that's kind of exactly what you would say. It's not like it's about the principle, it's about control. Attorney General Merrick Garland called the ruling, quote, an important step in blocking the Chinese government from weaponizing TikTok. ByteDance has said it can't and won't sell its U.S. operations. The Chinese government has opposed a forced sale, preferring to keep TikTok's proprietary algorithm and source code under Chinese control. I'd like to see a conversation with Elon Musk and a couple of his super high-tech buddies about what is the deal with the algorithm for TikTok. Is that something that can be replicated? Is there something where you can get at least close to it? Or is it so unique that it can't be replaced? President-elect Donald Trump's pending return to the White House adds a layer of uncertainty to what happens next. Trump sought to restrict TikTok in his first term, but he muddied his position earlier this year, expressing concern that a ban would shift users to rival Facebook. That's what this article says. From Yahoo Finance, TikTok's loss is Meta's win, which, of course, is Facebook. One of Trump's major donors also has a multi-billion-dollar stake in TikTok. Exactly how that influences all of this, we don't know. The ban doesn't make it a crime for TikTok's 170 million US users to keep using the app, but it prohibits mobile app stores such as Google and Apple's from letting users download or update it, and bars internet hosting services from supporting the app, effectively shutting it down in the US. Google and Apple haven't indicated how they would comply with the law. Apple didn't respond to a request for comment, and Google, when reached, didn't have anything to add. The statute subjects violators to fines of $5,000 multiplied by the number of people in the US who accessed, maintained, or updated the TikTok app. That means, in theory, companies defying the ban could face civil penalties in the hundreds of billions of dollars. The way the law seems to be describing the mechanism for how they plan to ban TikTok is pretty extensive. They seem like they've really thought this out, like operationally, like this is how we will get this done, and this is how we will make it impossible for people to host or do anything with TikTok on any of their platforms if they don't listen to the US ban law. The people who promoted this law, as they said in the article, lawmakers in Congress, but heavily influenced by intelligence agencies, clearly do want TikTok to be banned. The platform has operated as TikTok in the US since 2018. It exploded in popularity, particularly among Gen Z users, drawn in by its short-form video format, content recommendation formula, and easy editing features. It's now the fifth most widely used social media platform in the US among adults and a major news source for young adults, according to Pew Research Center. The decision didn't prompt widespread alarm on the platform Friday afternoon, though one post about the ruling garnered more than 5 million views. TikTok's fans have largely believed the platform will find a way to keep operating in the US, though some content creators are increasingly thinking through what they'll do if it doesn't. Quote, "That would suck," said Mario Rivera, 35 years old, a full-time creator in San Francisco with more than 300,000 TikTok followers. His posts are mainly humor videos featuring man-on-the-street interviews he conducts with strangers. Quote, "I would have to go harder on other platforms like YouTube and Instagram," said Rivera, adding that about half his income comes through the Chinese-owned platform. The elimination of TikTok in the US would mark a turning point in the geopolitical tussle over control of internet media and user data. Gmail, Google, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and X are all blocked in China under its Great Firewall censorship regime. But never has the US cut off access to a social media giant. TikTok had earlier tried to calm down national security concerns by spending billions of dollars on a project to house US user data in the country, hoping that would satisfy the government. Dubbed Project Texas, the move didn't help, and TikTok employees told the Wall Street Journal that data is still being shared with its China-based parent. A group of 8 TikTok content creators also challenged the law on First Amendment grounds, arguing that the ban was like forbidding freelance journalists from publishing in magazines of their choice or dictating to musicians what studios they could record in. Ginsburg said the court recognized that its decision had serious implication for TikTok users, but said that burden is attributable to China's hybrid commercial threat to US national security, not to the US government, which engaged with TikTok through a multi-year process in an effort to find an alternative solution. The judge's opinion said the Chinese could use TikTok to assemble structured data sets on Americans, like it has already done through hacking operations targeting US firms such as Equifax and the Office of Personnel Management. Access to TikTok user data could allow the Chinese government to track the locations of federal employees and contractors or build personal dossiers for blackmail, according to the court, citing claims by the US government. The court said the threats posed by content manipulation were no less serious, because China could distort public discourse for its own ends. China's, quote, ability to do so is at odds with free speech fundamentals, according to one of the judges who wrote for the panel. TikTok will likely deploy a two-pronged approach as it tries to salvage its U.S. presence. To postpone the ban's current January 19th effective date, the company would likely need an emergency stay from the Supreme Court. The High Court has been sensitive to free speech claims, but has also traditionally deferred to other branches on national security matters. When you say national security, it's kind of like magic words. It's difficult or impossible for judges to know, oh, should I not trust the executive branch right now? Is the intelligence community lying to me? I mean, you might write, yeah, they are lying in the comments, or maybe you agree with the intelligence community, but how is the judge really supposed to know? How could the Supreme Court really know? They'd have to look at everything from the intelligence community, and a lot of that they don't make available even to these judges. They just kind of say, hey, trust us, we're the intelligence community. And the judges are like, oh, okay. The other way TikTok could solve its problem is through Trump, who in theory could refuse to enforce the ban or invoke provisions of the law that allow the president to lift the ban if his administration determines the site is no longer under Chinese control. In 2020, Trump sought to shut down TikTok through an executive order, an effort that faltered under legal challenges. Because an executive order, while it can be very powerful and it can get things done, is not as powerful as an actual law. And at that time, TikTokers made the argument, oh, you're hurting me financially. Please stop this. And they did stop it. And at that point, Trump had to give up on banning TikTok. The former president now derides Facebook as a bigger threat to the American public, saying, quote, it will only get bigger and stronger if TikTok is taken out. Facebook suspended Trump in 2021 and restored his account in 2023. Also recently, Mark Zuckerberg did go and visit Trump in Mar-a-Lago, and they had dinner and they talked, and Mark Zuckerberg wants to be involved with the new administration. We'll see what happens. Trump joined TikTok during the 2024 election and used it to reach younger audiences. He now has more than 14 million followers on the app. His McDonald's visit was a massive hit on TikTok. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another story. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.